Two bodies lie on the cold concrete floor, inked with smoke and betrayal. Suddenly, Meta's doors slammed open, and in walked Wine, flanked by her men. Seeing the dangerous demon-looking man in front of her made her stop in her track, but it wasn't something that scared her. Jungkook was wiping the off his knuckles while sitting on a chair over the corpses like it was just another day. Legs crossed, splattered on his sleeves, leaning his back casually against the chair like he owned the damn chaos. He slowly looked up at her with his dark gaze. Looked like you're late to your own mess. They were the people who had a deal with Wine, and today was the day when they had to deliver the to her. Didn't realize you were the cleanup crew now, or just desperate for attention. Her eyes didn't flinch at the dead bodies. She barely spared them a glance, because she has seen worse, done worse. I go where the money bleeds. Do you think this puts you ahead? Grinning, but his eyes stayed dead. No, I think it keeps you behind. Such a hyena behavior, feeding on other skills, seems to run in your blood. He straightens up, slow and deliberate. Their crew stands behind them, ready to pull the triggers. You really want to do this now, Ryan? You didn't leave me with an option. He walks closer, close enough for her to smell and groan. A silence falls. Her man looked between them, unsure if they should raise their guns or step back. Careful, sweetheart. You keep poking and I might bite. Try it and I'll rip out your fangs. You are sounding like a scared little girl, Ryan. Is everything alright? Mocked concern for her to enrage her. I'm not scared of you, Jim. I make enemies like you before breakfast and finish them before lunch. Looked as calm as ocean. His jaw tightens. That was a punch to the pride, and she knew it. I would have killed you just now, only if we hadn't shared a past. He smirked at her, knowing damn well that he has ignited a fire. That will take down a whole village. He was about to walk off, when her words forced his steps in. Voice low, dangerous. You just started up. Stepping closer. I just reminded you, there is a difference between playing Mafia and being one. Their eyes locked. Not lust, not longing. Just pure crackling threat. Like two kings in a kingdom built on ashes, both refusing to bow. And looks good on you, so why not? After whispering in her ear, he stepped back with a hint of smoke tugging at his lips. Crossing her once again, he walked away, leaving her with no deal, but digging his grave in her mind. On one casual evening of summers, Ryan sat on the ledge of the school rooftops, legs dangling over the edge, a soda can in her hand. Her hair whipped in the breeze. The city lights blinked in the distance like fireflies. The time when everything felt different, softer, simpler. She heard some disturbance behind her, but didn't look back, as she knew who was here to snatch her piece as usual. Again fought with idiots to prove who's the biggest one. Roasted him with serious sarcasm. Jungkook climbed up and dropped beside her with a sigh. No tattoos, no guns. Just a boy with stars in his eyes and scars on his knuckles. Grin, not taking her words to the heart. Nah, they were trying to challenge your throne. I had to step in. Indirectly called her idiot. She rolled her eyes, but smiled. Something about him always made her drop her guard. You know you won't make it far if you keep chasing trouble. He nudged her knee. And you won't make it far pretending you're not meant for me. A silence fell, heavy, charged, while he looked at her like he knew her soul better than she did. Dad was asking me to start the training. Talking about her father wanting to make her his heir in underworld, as he was a mafia, just like Jungkook's dad. You ever think about it? Running away from all this, just disappearing. Every day. She turned to him, eyes glinting with hope, softly. But I would stay, if you stayed. Jungkook breath caught. He looked away, didn't speak. That was the moment he could have said something real, something brave, but he didn't. Wine came home to the living room in panic as she heard being nearby. It wasn't what scared her, because she was used to hear these noises in her house. But her dad's yelling told her something was about to crush her little dreams. Suho is... His eyes going wild with unshed tears. She froze in her place. Her world stopped moving as her father brutally broke the news of her cousin's death. The only big brother she ever had. The only person she looked up to. And you know who pulled the trigger? Voice cracking with rage and emotions as he raised Suho like his own son. Wine's breath caught. Her heart shook with unknown fear as something in her sixth sense whispered a weird name. Jungkook. No, no way. Who was that? Tears spilled from her eyes. Why don't you look yourself? Spoke as if he was taunting her. Mr. Kang slammed the USB on his secretary's hand, who immediately played the video on big screen in the living room. The footage played. Suho grabbing that was already pointed at his heart by Jungkook. They couldn't hear what he was saying with tears in his eyes, but it looked like he was begging Jungkook. One shot, and Suho stopped moving. He didn't even get to scream. Wan choked on her own breath, as if that bullet had hit her too. Seething in pain. He looked my boy in the eyes and still did it, shaking her head, denying as he can't believe her own eyes. He wouldn't do that. His voice raised with each word he said. After everything I told you, after warning you again and again, you let the snake into our house, into our goddamn family, and now Suho is holding a body bag. Threw the vase across the room in anger. The air around them was heavy with violence. Wan stood there like a culprit, chest heaving, face unreadable, blaming herself for letting her trust the enemy she thought was a friend. Voice low as she gulped the pain before asking, "Where's the body?" Harshly wiped his tears and took a deep breath. More. Face barely recognizable. You want to see what your friendship with that little sweet rat cost us? He reached for the file containing pics and tossed it at her feet. Congratulations, sweetheart. That's what trusting Jungkook watched her. As she stared at the scattered pics on the floor, with tear burning her eyes and soul, something broke inside her. Not like glass, like bone. She looked back at the photo. Her voice cracked, just once, enough to remind everyone she was a human before she became this. He knew Suho was all I had. He knew. Slowly her hand curled into fist, as the look in her gaze turned into something intense, like revenge. Her father noticed the change in her, but before he could ask, she directly looked at him as if she had nothing to lose now. As if she don't care whom she have to bury now, including the one she regret trusting. You want an eye? You have. Everyone in the room looked at her as if they saw a ghost. Her father's eyebrow rose, his misery and shock quickly masked by the rare curl of a cruel smile, and a glint of hope of revenge sparked in his eyes. But she wasn't done. I swear on Suho's grave, Jungkook won't survive now. Announced the war in a room full of hardened killers. And that night, Wine buried the girl who wanted a normal life. From then on, she wasn't the girl who loved him anymore. She was the pointed straight at him. He tried to approach her, but only met with the chaos she created in his life. Dismantling his family business along with the people he trusted became her new hobby. To stop her from insanity, he had to step into the underworld and face her like an animal.